Okay, so we're going to get started on this project. Hopefully we can finish this weekend. May take a while, but we're going to work on it. So behind me, you see my truck. 2015 F-150 2.7 EcoBoost, twin turbos. And what we're fixing to do is replace the clock spring in the steering wheel. So what's been happening, and a little backstory or back information. Check airbag light is on and it is throwing a P2450 code. Driver's side front airbag is what that code is. And most likely it's the clock spring, which is the connection between the steering wheel and the rest of the vehicle. And it's mainly used to connect the airbag to the rest of the system. So with that code being thrown in there constantly, it could be the seatbelt connections and this and that and the other, which I've gone through those and looked at them. They look pretty good. I don't see any corrosion, so I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the clock spring, because you can have issues with your buttons on your steering wheel, which I have an intermittent deal where I'll push a button, nothing happens. I'll push it again, it happens. So uh, all of that together leads me with the code that's the issue. So last night when I got home from work, I took the negative battery terminal off of the battery and I just let it set overnight. You want to do that because you can set your airbag off. If you ground that sucker somehow or another, it's going to catch the signal and it's going to blow up in your face. So you don't want to try to do stuff like this at home yourself. This is for demonstration purposes. Take that as you will. Uh, and First thing we're going to do is get in there and pop the little clips on each side of the steering wheel, which will release the airbag from the middle of the steering wheel. It's kind of hard to get those, so hopefully I've got the right tool now, and we'll talk about that. So that's about it. Let's get started on that airbag. Now, I don't know if you notice, but the truck is hiked up. It's on ramps because we're also going to do the valve covers and the oil pan today. So the device that I have found that will go in there and release this airbag is this right here. So let's see, right here, right there. Hopefully you can see. I can't find it. Hopefully you can see that hole that will go in there. Now be careful about just poking stuff up in there, because you do have your airbag connectors, and the way this is kind of set up is the wires to your airbag are down towards the bottom here, coming out of the clock spring through the steering wheel itself. And so we're going to get this popped out first and get it removed. Now the horn wires comes around across where you're poking it in over here, so do be careful that you don't snag those and cause any issues. But what you want to do is have your steering wheel, it's about as straight as you can get it, really, which that's pretty straight right there. And you want this to go straight in. Now there's a guide on the back of this that's kind of funneled in. It's a wider mouth that comes into a narrow. Now here's the part, because you've got to get this to go through that little funnel section, and there is a lever. Okay, so there's a hook back here that's catching that lever. So you got to push that lever aside so it'll come out. And what you're doing is trying to hit that lever with this. Now this right here is I want to think. So what does it say? It's a rat tail file. It's a chainsaw file, and I do. I don't know, it's a 3/32 or something like that. So you don't want to use something super sharp because it's hard to hold it on that lever. And so when you get it up in there, and what I do is kind of work it until I can feel that Oh, almost. Okay, now you see there? I don't know how I managed it that quickly, but this side is loose. So now you want to go into the other side and do the same thing. It's exactly the same as here, but you want to hold this side up so it doesn't pop back down into place. So let me see if I can catch that one. And when we get done here, we'll go inside to the desk and we will take a closer look at this so you can see it and better understand what it is you're trying to do. See, I slipped off of it. And there we go. So we've got it out now. So let's, there's no, this is under a little bit of a spring tension on the back side here. You got 3 of them. It's got a little bit of spring tension on there. And that will help kind of push it towards you. But it won't necessarily hold it out of place. So let me turn this sideways so you can kind of see the connections here. So we've got these 2 connections. You can see, hopefully I can zoom in, this is the horn right here. Your positive connection is going to the top and the black negative connection is going down to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is pull this loose. So there's my positive connection taken off. Slip this up if I can. And then there's the negative connection. Now these are 2 different sizes, so it's kind of hard to get it mixed up as to which one goes where. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get these horn connections loose. I mean, this airbag connections loose. And this is where it can be dangerous. If you don't take that ground off and give your electronics time for the capacitors and everything else in the whole system to bleed down, you could potentially set this thing off in your face. You don't want to do that. I believe the actual instruction is to remove the negative battery terminal. This is a 2015 F-150. To remove the battery terminal on the negative side for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And then there's a fuse which controls the horn and I believe it's the airbag as well, removing that fuse. And that's an extra precaution. But as my extra precaution, I pulled the negative battery terminal last night, and so it's been sitting here for about, oh goodness, 18 or so hours so far. And so that's more than enough time for all the capacitors and everything to bleed down. So to release these right here, and they are color coded. This one is yellow and this one is blue. I know they both look yellow with orange tabs, but the head on them that plugs into this module, this one's yellow and this one's blue. So this tab, be careful because these could be old, they could be brittle. Just be careful about slipping these up. But that's what you're trying to do. Okay, popped it up. So now it's loose. It's all the way up. Now I can pull it to unplug. I'm going to give it a little help because it's likely never been unplugged. There we go. So now we've got the, see on the bottom, it's yellow. We've got the yellow connection pulled loose. And you can see the connector down here matches it with yellow. So now let's get the other tab. We're going to work it up, pop it up, take our fingers, make sure it's pulled all the way up. Then we'll get underneath the edge and pop that off as well. And then this one you can see is blue and the connector as well as blue. This completely frees our module. Again, remember that this module right here is your airbag. And if you were to ground this system out, put voltage on it, this airbag will blow up. And you can see part of the airbag up in here that's kind of balled up in there. and there's going to be some kind of a cartridge, a CO2 cartridge or some form of an air cartridge, high pressure cartridge inside here that inflates that instantly. Think about it. Car crash happens at I don't know, if you're driving 50 and they're driving 50, it's a 100-mile-an-hour crash. And that is open and in your face before like microseconds. So be careful. Very dangerous. So we've got this all open. Now I don't have a connection over here, but inside the steering wheel, there's a little tab that this will slide up and down on. So that's your connections on your steering wheel to kind of hold this stuff in place and off to the side. And you can see how this wire crosses that section. So as an information, now we're going to go inside to look at it, and you can see I boogered this thing up some using little small screwdrivers and everything else. But the whole point of the thing is you're trying to push this lever back. See that little lever? You're trying to push that back on either side to free it from the hooks in the steering wheel that hold it into place. And so you can see these little cone-shaped funnels that go down in there. And so when you put it through the side of the steering wheel, it comes into here, it goes into place, and you can almost just not even miss this lever. But when you get it up in here and push, that's what you're doing. You're pushing that lever over to release it. So I'm not going to go over any more of this right now. We're going to go inside in a little while and get a better close-up of this so you can see it better. Now hopefully the sun blasting up in here is not too awful bad. And that's perfect. So you have a steering wheel nut in here. It's one right dead center in the center. And it is 24 millimeter. A very nice mechanic at work let me borrow this this right here because this is the right size that fits it. And he's telling me that normally it would be a 15/16 is what fits. And I have no doubt, but a little broken tab of plastic. I have no doubt about that. But at the same time, the recommended size is 24 millimeter. I don't want to take a chance on rounding anything off. So we're going to cut away for a minute. We'll go inside. We'll take a closer look at this airbag. And okay, so here we are inside. Let's get this box open. There is our clock spring. Now I want to be careful not to go just turning this all over the place, but I'm going to kind of leave it there. I think that's about how it's going to plug in potentially. I don't know. I'll have to get the other one out and we'll look at it. So you can see on here that I've got a blue and a yellow wire that matches what I've got right here. And hopefully you can see these levers better. These levers are what you're trying to push in. I'm just going to use this as an example, but you're pushing in through these little cone-shaped guides that will get... That's too big. I probably should have brought that other piece in here. If I could quit hiccuping. Here, let me just grab it. We're going to do this. We're going to not worry about that screwdriver on the floor. So this piece right here, going up in here, and you can see pushing that lever in. So that is what you're trying to do on both sides. And so what you're looking for is this hole, which you can't help but hit it. If you go in straight, you're going to catch this cone and you'll feel yourself glancing off the edge, funneling straight down. And it's a straight shot into these levers. And that's all you got to do. Now these contacts right here on the fore side, that's your horn contacts right there. So if you, however you push, or straight in, however you push this whole assembly, these make contact. And here's your plugs, your negative down here, your positive up on the top. This is for your horn contacts. Then these two right here are for the airbag. And that is the whole point, basically, of this right here, is to get these contacts, which are for your horn or your airbag, connected to the system itself. And we'll probably take the old one and pull it down so we can get a good look at it. But this is the side that will push into the main body of the steering column, and this side right here, these will literally catch into the steering wheel itself, so that as the steering wheel turns, this whole front face turns with the steering wheel. And this backside, through these 4 screws right here, we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. That will be secured into place, and then you can see that the rest of this assembly here will spin, staying mounted flush with the steering column itself. But we got to take the steering wheel off for that. So this is not a new part. Obviously, you can see it came from probably a salvage yard, I guess. Someone sold it, said it was, and it is OEM, but said it was functioning and in new condition. So we're going to take their word for it. We're going to try it, and we're going to see what we end up with. We are going to, we got some, let's set the torque wrench down. Grab my socket. Okay. Excuse the heavy breathing. It's just me on a good day, really and truly. I don't remember exactly what size those were. Get this out of here. Oops. Well, let me look under there and see what that is. It may not be a nut, but it sure got a nut working on it. Don't mind the glare. Oh, that is a itty bitty, itsy bitsy teeny weeny, tinky tiny thingy majiggy. I wonder if I got one. That's, I think I do. But I bought a series of sockets and stuff at a yard sale just because I came in here. I think I put all of the smaller stuff in here. That's a 10mm. And I don't know what that is, but I think it looks like about a 6 or something. That's a 7mm. That is a 6. Almost. Man, is it smaller than that? How's that saying go? Good night, Irene. I don't know if there is something smaller than a 6mm in here. There's a 5mm. And that doesn't fit. Okay, so I can't get any of these to fit. Okay, Google, I need your help. Come on, come here, Google. Shoot, this has 4mm. I don't think I even have a 4mm. Hold on. Okay, that's obviously a lie because that's 4mm there. And that don't fit. Go back to here. That is... Well, the 6 kind of fits. I bet you that's like a 5.5. I would not be surprised, but let's see if we can make a 6 work. Hopefully we can. And we're not. So, wow. So is there an itsy bitsy standard size? Maybe it's standard, not metric. What's this? Okay, so looks like a 7/32 will do the job. So See? There's 3, seems like. You know, there's always a better way. Now, I'm not always smart enough to take it, but there is always a better way. A little bit of a wobble. Socket on there. So, there we go. We got 2 clips here. Titanium beef. Well, this doesn't have to come all the way out. And what are those? There, they look like Torx. Let's see. So, 7/32 on a wobble adapter for an impact drill. So let's see, these look kind of small. Hopefully I've got a Nope. Nupa. Ooh-wee. It's a bitsy teeny weeny. Well, okay then. Let me go find a special Torx. A bar she fits. Not really special, just small. And this is a T10. And you need a T10 to unscrew the clock spring from the housing. Kind of grease all over the place there. Okay. Okay, so that's got the screw out. Let's pull. Let's try to get the last screw out of the clock spring so we don't drop it. Now you got this wire bundle right here. I'm not sure. Okay, that's the same kind of plug as up top. You can see it's got a little tab to push down on. And clock spring slips right on out. So this clock spring has a bunch of wibble wobble. Looks like grease coming out of it, which is not a big deal. I mean, I'm assuming it's most likely these things have some form of grease in them. So here we go back in with the new clock spring. Really didn't pay a huge attention to that. I don't guess it matters. Okay, so let me point some things out before I just push this into place. So you have 4 screws here, 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 and over here. This little hole right here below the screw and this one over here above the screw are alignment pins. So you have a pin here and this pin right here, which will align this clock spring as you take the contacts and secure them inside the steering column. So let's get this. First, just align that plug down there. And then those will pretty much fall into place without a problem. And this is going to have to rotate up here, because that's how this one here is. Now, let's see about getting these screws back in. If I can even pick one up. Not a whole bunch of torque, just kind of cinching it down. I mean, I would imagine, you know, this is a vehicle, so they probably have a torque spec on that. I don't know. There we go. It's all popping down into place now. I'll say that. I missed the alignment pin at the top. That's what the problem was. So be careful you get it on them alignment pins. It gets them close when you get it plugged in, but it's not perfect. You still miss your alignment pins, and what will happen is your holes won't line up. Okay, so we got that. That's cinched down. Get the other screw. Now remember, you are screwing metal screws into plastic, so you have a very, very good potential to strip that plastic out. So again, I mean, just get it, you know, get it up to where it's got to go, and then just give it a little fraction of a turn just to cinch it down. That's all you're doing. This is just this is the part that's staying stationary to the steering column with all your connections and all that good stuff. There we go. That's good. So we'll get this part, and it will only plug in one way. Now there's another plug over here, or it looks like some form of plug, or it's, well, you can actually, looks like you can see the tape up in there maybe. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but that may be some kind of sensor, adapter, or some kind of of some sort. You always got to have your in order as you drop stuff all over the place. Because, I mean, you always got to drop stuff everywhere. Like the bit that don't fit this screwdriver that I'm using in it. So we're done with that T10. Just up here, I'm gonna set the beef to the side. Get our big booty up here. Well, I say big booty. My wife tells me I ain't got one. So anyway, here's the little screws. Again, hopefully those are focusing. You got 3 of them. I think these are 5.5 millimeter, but the 7/32 fit perfect. So, steering column housing. You've got the shift rubber comes up against the edge. Make sure it's on the inside. So I got my ignition aligned. My shifter rubber is inside. And the housing snaps back together. So now, just screw it into place. Okay, so I'm trying to do it blind, kind of hoping everything would line up, but it's not. Here. Well, so much easier when you look at what you're doing. Now, we can jump up there. Grab our steering wheel. Now, back of the steering wheel, and the shaft is the same way, it's tapered. It's a hex, and it's tapered in, and then it's a hex, a straight hex on the end. And so, with that setup, that's why that nut doesn't have to be super tightened down, because it is tightening onto that taper, which is a much stronger hold. It's kind of the same thing that your wheels, that are, at least in my day when I used to pack bearings and stuff, your shafts are tapered and it sucks them in there, and it's just got a I don't know the term for it or what you would call it, but it's a lot more force, a lot less torque needed on the bolt to hold a good connection to that. So you have these two holes, one here and one here on either side of your center. Right here, you got this hole and this hole, and they align with these two yellow pieces. These right here, which are your airbag connectors, they come up through this top hole, the big hole at the top. So let's kind of push that connector to the side. We'll get these fed through like that, and then we're going to start slipping it back on there. So now you can see my 12 and 6 o'clock is matching the 12 and 6 o'clock on the shaft. And to be honest with you, I would assume that all steering wheels would be that way. I can't imagine why they wouldn't be keyed and would not have some kind of a marking for alignment. And if you see a mark on the end of that shaft, it's going to be the 12 o'clock is where you're going to want that to be at. So let's take and get our bolt in there. And it should thread in pretty easy up to the point that we're going to take and torque it. There we go. Steering wheel is already pretty solid. It will wobble, but I mean, it's pretty solid. So now I've got my torque wrench set at 35 foot-pounds. Now, let me hold this. All right, we're torqued at 35 foot-pounds, and I don't know how obvious that is, but you can see that the bolt is slightly forward of where it was before. So that proves that that bolt was not properly torqued. So I think somebody was in the steering wheel at some point or another, and I believe because that airbag light was on, they climbed up in the steering wheel here, tried to figure out what was going on, said, man, everything seems fine, okay, and put it back together and didn't tighten it up enough. So anyway, that's my assumption. And so this right here should only go in one way. There we go. Okay, so now we got that secured into place. And that's all your connections for your steering wheel controls, your horn, and these airbag controls. So now let's get our airbag slash horn. And remember, the black one is the negative. It's the wider one, and it fits the wider little blade terminal down here on the bottom. So let's go ahead and get that slid into place. We'll take our small one. We'll get that slid into place. And then we will connect. I'm just going to go in reverse. I disconnected the blue one first, so we're going to reconnect the blue one. I'm going to take and first push it into place. It snaps. Then I'm going to push the lock down. And hopefully, well, I guess you probably can't see that, but I'm going to push the lock down. So you see the lock on here. I put it into place, push it down, then I'm pushing that lock down into place to lock it. So get this pushed down, snap, and lock. And so now the airbag's in good shape. I'm running that horn wire, make sure that it's out of the way. Put it up in here and snap. It's back. It's back where it's supposed to be. So the steering wheel tilt, this part right here is something I got to get used to, because I didn't realize my steering wheel did that. I realized that it tilted up and down. I didn't realize I could push that baby in. So anyway, I'm going to lock it in right there. Because that way, well, I don't know. I'll have to adjust it whenever I'm driving it again, because I need a lot of leg room for my my legs. So let's hook the battery cable up, and if this don't blow up, we're good. And hopefully the airbag light will go out once it does a test. Grab the 10 millimeters. We already got the 10 millimeter out. Oh, that's the 8. Okay, well, I don't know what I did with the 10 millimeter. I'll tell you what, I can show, never mind, I know what's that. But I can sure aggravate myself to no end. Okay, so we have the battery power again. Now get this stuff out of my way of my feet. Get that clock spring up there. Here. All right, so I do have the emergency brake on, because it is on ramps. Because the next process is valve cover gaskets and oil pan. And I'm sorry I can't remember your handle at the moment, but I'm going to change shirts. Yeah, hopefully I don't have no, because my daughter gave me this. She had it specially made for me. So emergency brakes on, hit my brake pedal to hold it in place, stick it in here, crank it up. Hood is ajar. No, my hood is not ajar. My hood's just open. Now look there. We do not have an airbag light on the dashboard. It is out. So, horn works. We're all good. So that, and I can't turn that much because I forget I'm on ramps. So let's go ahead and kill it right there. So what do we have here? This is a clock spring. Now I have a video that is showing how to change this on a F-150 2015 pickup. Go ahead and get this open. Come on. There we go. So what this does is this right here mounts, how is it? It's like this. This right here mounts in your steering column. This mounts to the main part of the frame. This mounts to the steering wheel. This right here actually keys through the steering wheel. And as you turn your steering wheel, you get a connection from your airbag and any of your steering wheel controls to the rest of the vehicle, which is mounted down here. So, what was happening to mine? I had an airbag light on. So, the airbag light could be many things. I think it was B0001 13-8 or 8-13. I'll look all that up and it'll all be in the descriptions on the main video. But that was telling you that there was a that it was a driver's side front airbag, which kind of says it all. I mean, it would be the steering wheel airbag. But I was checking the seat. I was checking the seatbelt restraints, a lot of different things. Let me get some water. Sorry, I'm dying of thirst. So I was getting that error, and I couldn't figure out any of the rest of the issues. So you can have contacts that aren't making really good, and you'll get that error because your airbags, at least on this truck, goes by resistance. If you have a specific resistance, and within a certain range, it considers it's good. Outside of that range, it considers it to be bad. Anywhere from a dead short to a completely open circuit, which in this case it was showing a open circuit. So every now and then the steering wheel buttons, I may push them, nothing happens. I push it again and it works. So that's a clear indication that you have something wrong with your clock spring. We're going to take this apart so that you can see what's inside of a clock spring and how it works. I think in the beginning, clock springs were set up to where you had the old compression copper fingers that would hold against a board as you turned. It would maintain connection, kind of like a I can't think of the name of it. My brain's fried. It's too late at night. I got to quit doing these videos late at night. because my brain doesn't work very well. But like I keep wanting to say thermistor, but it's not. Um, Rheostat. I don't know. Dave, can you help me? So anyway, but in these clock springs, the new ones as of today, what you have, if I'm not mistaken, is like a ribbon cable that's wound around here. And you don't want this to spin all in one direction or for a long ways in another direction. It could bunch up in there or cause issues. Now, this clock spring, you'll notice that there's a lot of slack in it. Um, it's kind of moving all over the place. The one I put in is rock solid and steady. So what you want to do to prepare to replace one of these is take your negative battery terminal off. I think the rule of thumb is to pull your negative battery terminal for about 20 minutes with your airbag fuse pulled as well. I didn't pull my airbag fuse. I took my negative battery terminal off for 24 hours before I started messing with these. But once you get in there, these connectors are pretty simple. They're color coded, of course, as to how they go in. And you look here, this, let's just push this down, which I don't know, I may not be able to push it down when it's not plugged into something. Yeah, I think you got to plug it into something to push it down. So when you put this, you plug it in, this will push down and lock it into place. If you want to get it off, then you have to put something under this lip, pop this up, and then you can slip this up off of the airbag itself. But these are the two connectors for the airbag in the steering wheel. Here is a main connector that is going to everything else. You have, which my truck didn't have the connector going into here, or yes, it did. This is like a tilt steering sensor or something. And then this plugs into the main harness on the vehicle. But these two right here are connected through this port right here with all these different connections. They only plug in one way. You can't accidentally plug one of these in the wrong spot. This plugs in only one way. You have alignment pins that you want to make sure that you get them. Like here and I think here are the two alignment pins that you have. No, I'm sorry, here and I think here. And that aligns everything. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that will mount this into the steering column. So let's just do a little bit of testing here first and see which connector is bad. So we'll start on the end down there. Okay, so we got signal there. Got a signal on that one. Okay. Got a signal there. Signal there. Signal there. There. Okay. Got a signal there. Okay. Okay, I don't seem to have a signal on that pin. Now let's check this pin over here. Nothing there. Okay, so it looks like this plug, this side I've got a signal, this side I've got no signal. That could be a sensor or something that I do or don't have, who knows. This is the one that was the problem, this right here. And so I would be willing to bet these four here probably come through these. Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pins there. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's all 14 of those pins. And then I've got 4 more on the top here. And there's 4 pins here. So I believe my intermittent, because I have nothing that'll fit up in that. That's too small. My leads won't go in there. And so it's probably on these two right here. One or these 4. One of these 4 down on the top side of this plug right here is not going to be making a connection with these, if not multiple. And so that explains why, most of the time all of my buttons and everything worked on the steering wheel, but it couldn't get a feedback or a signal on these right here for the airbag. So let's see if maybe I can pop this back off. Okay. So you can see that you've got a ribbon cable here that you've got, it's kind of folded up in here, and these connections are being made up in here. So this is like a circuit board here that is coming up into this portion, which is where your plugs are. And you can see this ribbon cable is kind of split out. So, and you can see the spirals. All of these this will be around this central piece like this here and tucked inside in the center. And so as this turns, it's got some play in here.
that you can rotate this round and round without twisting or binding anything. So I'm hoping that's kind of coming across on the video well enough that you can kind of understand how the clock spring is working. Then on the other end is these ribbon cables are coming together into this plug and this plug down here on the bottom. These two right here. And so all of this stuff is tied in between through this ribbon cable. It's kind of ingenious the way they've come up with it. And you can see how if this spins too much, then it's going to cause a break in the connection. Now, there is another possibility. And that's why I was trying to be meticulous about taking this apart so that I can put it back together, is these connectors here. Any connectors can build up I don't know what you want to call it, but can build up like a patina or some kind of buildup on the contacts. And so unplugging these and plugging them back in again may fix your problem. They may make a good connection again and everything's good. So let me put this back together and see if maybe I can stick a wire up in here. Because I kind of was almost wondering if I would see some breaks in this line right here, or it would be all bunched up, which would potentially cause problems. But it's not any of that, so I'm thinking my issue may have been more along the lines of these not making a good connection. So let's see, if I take and just shove that up in there. I can't because that's not negative. Nothing. Not getting anything there. Make sure I'm not looking at this thing wrong here. Okay. Okay, top right, I'm getting connection. Nothing on top. So I'm getting a signal through all connections. I take and check each one of these pins against different pins here, and they all got a signal. These 4 on the bottom against these 4 here, I got a signal. The 4 on top against these here, and I got a signal. So I'm thinking that this clock spring is good. It was just a connection problem with these 2 terminals here. Most likely I could have disconnected them and put them back in there and everything was fine. Would have been fine. So I'm going to hold on to this as a backup as well. Here's the deal. Normally you would have this lined up about there, and there would be a plug through this part right here, which would hold this together, because you don't want this spinning around, potentially ending up with, being overwound or something. So let's see. Okay. Well, so I'll probably just put some tape on here and have that in place. And but I'm going to do some more testing with it just to make sure. Because, like I said, I did, when I took it loose before I actually did the change, I did move those connectors with the terminals, the negative battery terminal off. And I still got it. So I still got the airbag light. And so I'm pretty sure that it was, there may be an intermittent connection issue with this clock spring. So I would seriously, I would have it for a backup just to be on the safe side, maybe. I think I found a used OEM clock spring for $30 or $40 on eBay, and I bought it, and that's what I put in there, and everything's fine now, perfectly good. So anyway, that's the inside of a clock spring. That kind of gives you a little bit of an insight, and I hope you've gotten something out of that. I appreciate you, and I'd ask that you'd like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of stuff. So I appreciate you. I thank you, and I will see you next time. Your time is very important to me, and I thank you for spending it here with me. Thanks, and God bless.